Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for clicking on episode 5 of my story in music. I appreciate everybody that's checked out the video so far, that left comments, and without further ado, we're gonna get back to it. So this episode is called The Value of Authenticity, which I will get to moving on a little bit later in the story. So I got my notes right here that I wrote down. I'm gonna reference them as I try to talk to you guys here. So if I'm looking down and looking back, you already know what it is. I'm no professional here. So red carpet was going well. Ryan Kendrick was the first artist that the label was going to push, which means that they were trying to get behind, essentially. By that meaning, making an album for him, like photo shoots, promotional materials, making singles for radio, and different stuff featuring on other people's songs, like other artists, and basically featuring back on all the other artists on the labels, songs as well. And figured, we'd be able to, establish him as that star, and then he'd be able to give us that look back. Around that time, like T-Pain was very popular, and he was literally getting people signed by making a song with T-Pain. So we kind of had the whole idea for that, but it would all be in-house, all just a big plan. So the thinking was the R&B stuff would be easier to get going than 5 rappers or 6 rappers with any kind of all the differences in style and everything like that. Without getting too into the political games that went on, there was an opportunity to get one of the biggest A-list rappers in the game on a track with Kendrick at the time, but there was a bunch of stuff tied to, stuff to the feature that involved all types of middlemen that have jobs in music, radio, record labels, a bunch of stuff, like the dudes that just get randomly dropped off, bags of money, like $10,000 or $20,000 to promote songs on the radio. Those of you that know, So we ended up turning that down. So, well, not me, but and putting the money into promoting locally. We used to have the joke that we were gonna blow ourselves up, and which has kind of become something we laughed at, moving forward. A lot of this was really frustrating for me, as I was someone that was 100% about the music, straight hungry. And I didn't always get that vibe from Ryan, even though he was incredibly talented as a singer. I was just someone that I was a straight savage at that point. And so, while Ryan was the one that was being pushed in front, and we would always go to the shows and be in the background, and sometimes we get a verse like on one of the songs, like he'll perform a song that has a couple of us on it, we'll get to do our thing. For me, that wasn't really enough. So the plan for the rappers was to have 3 singles at a time, maybe 4, and one song would be with Kendrick. Essentially, that would be one that would be ready. But I didn't feel like I was really getting what I needed out of the beats that Coney was giving us at that time. And it just felt like a rigid creation process, and I felt like I was forcing it a lot. And what I was most comfortable with was working with JL, as I mentioned in the last video. So JL, was a guy that he just came along at the right time for me to help me, learn a lot of what I need to learn as far as recording your own songs, engineering your own stuff, and getting better on FL Studio. So I got my singles that I didn't really like recorded, and one of the songs I listened to is called Balla, and that's actually the song I have with Kendrick. And I was listening to it the other day. Just the lyrics on there, it was like, man, I sounded like it was crazy, because I thought that I was every cliched, like I had all the, everything you were supposed to do on a song, and the way you were supposed to rap and everything, down to a science, mind you. Like, I was a person that just really studied this shit and figured out how it was supposed to be done. But listening to it, it felt soulless, it felt disrespectful for the way I was talking about women, and I didn't, I don't enjoy listening back to a lot of that era of myself. And what I ended up doing was getting back to work on what I was most comfortable with, were like the freestyles, which could really quench my thirst on what I wanted to do the most at the time. JL, he was an excellent sample producer, and I hadn't really found a way to adapt, to the style of rap production at that time, and it was a change in the game where, you know, a lot of this stuff was going towards like, you know, a lot of producers were like the sample beats from the East Coast were on the way out, but the Southern style, you know, beats were taking over, and JL would like pretty much transition me, you know, through like the samples and, you know, figuring everything out. And he kind of gave me a comfort zone to work in, and he inspired me to how to make my own beats better, and inspired me that way. And everyone always, you know, appreciated like JL's music that was my friends, so they all fuck with you, JL. So everyone, like, you know, kind of took notice of how hard and, you know, how prolific I was at this time. And there was this time where we had a meeting in Safety Harbor at like the marina or something, and everyone took a vote on who they thought should be the next pushed artist, essentially. And at this time, I was really frustrated at this time because things hadn't popped off, and I was waiting my turn. I thought it was better. I thought it was hungrier. I thought it was all that. Like, like I was, you know, as I mentioned, a savage. And I ended up winning the vote among the label, and, you know, for me, it was like I was younger than everybody, but I felt like I really put a lot more into my craft than folks, and, you know, people really saw that at the time, and I ended up even voting for myself. We all had to send text messages to like a number. I don't know whose number it was, but they tallied up the votes, and I was the one that everyone else felt comfortable with going next. Now that never happened, but you know, truth is, looking back at it, I wasn't ready, and I was so incomplete as an artist, and with the ego I had, I would have flamed out in spectacular fashion after dissing the wrong person and getting blackballed from, you know, the music game forever. It's, you know, I'm glad that it never actually pan out. So my whole deal was like, I'm just going to start making, you know, like, whatever I want to rap about, I'm just start recording at the crib, coming up with stuff, just trying to get stuff rolling for myself. And I wasn't ready to complete myself as an artist until I learned the value of authenticity. Now this is where, you know, the title of the video is. Now, I don't know how it happened, but everyone kind of had like an intervention with me and asked why I rapped about the things that I rapped about. You know, as I mentioned in prior videos, I used to rap about like shooting and killing people and selling drugs and, you know, various escapades with women and all types of, you know, ridiculous shit, having a bunch of money, having a mansion, having a bunch of cars and everything like that. I had never, like, the only time I had only shot a gun once in my life at that time, and it was at a tree in Virginia, and it was my grandfather's shotgun. I had never, like, you know, I wasn't in the streets, like, you know, selling drugs or anything like that. I actually, like, thought it was really lame. But this is stuff I would rap about because, you know, everyone else did it. Like, this was the way. Like, these were the things I was inspired to rap about. And I was, you know, such a prolific, like, and, you know, I learned a lot of this in, you know, school and being good at actually, like, writing, like, essays and papers, like, how to make something sound good. So they'd be like, yo, the way you would rap about it, that shit sounds, like, real, like, you were there doing it. It was, like, for me, that was, like, well, for me, it wouldn't seem that hard, but it would be, like, the way I would describe it, it felt like it would come to life, but that was just the talent I had at that time to do that. But it wasn't real, like that like it was a work. So for all my wrestling fans, but you know, by being authentic and learning the value of that, I could no longer be told that my art isn't real. Like what I was doing, like I didn't have to worry about fronting and being a gangster, which I was not, and I didn't have to worry about, you know, going somewhere and having to test the real hardest dudes in a city somewhere, you know, something like that. So you know, I was crying, I was arguing that it didn't matter what I rapped about. I was just outnumbered by everybody. Like everybody, you know, just kept raising points like of why I should be, you know, I'm better than that. Like I can, you know, I can display my talent on another level than that. And I think it's because my friends saw something in me that I didn't at the time, maybe. And they saw that I could be more than the guys I emulated at the time. And after that, I remember being sick. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like around the Super Bowl time in 2008 or something. I'm not sure. But I was at home for like a week and like contemplating whether I'm going to continue rapping and anything like that. But my boy Mississippi, shouts out to him. What's up, man? He was the one who saved my love for like doing music and told me what I needed to hear in order to realize that I could do my thing without lying in my raps all the time. Which is crazy now that I think about it. And, you know, he told me to be selective, tell stories, you know, in my raps and stay true to myself. And I can't thank him enough because he really made it click for me. And ever since I found out, you know, how to be real in my raps, it's been the biggest strength of mine that I felt like, because it was a secret weapon that I didn't know existed. I could literally rap about anything that happened in my life in using that same detail that I would craft those fake stories, those war stories in the streets, those shootouts, those, you know, the punchlines about the guns like I had in the last video, like my guns work in silence like the Fifth Amendment. Like, that's a hard line, but like, it's not real. Like, I don't have a gun, so like I could put that same effort into memories, into life experiences, into, you know, personal relationships, into watching other people's relationships around me. And these were all things that I learned to do to be authentic, to have, you know, have a core as an artist, like to know what I am. Like, if I had to sum it up in you know, like a couple sentences or something, my boy Andre one time told me, yo, you're like the rawest, realest, funniest rapper of all time, because I'll go where I don't think a lot of people will. So but yeah, that's gonna wrap up episode 5. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you watch this and you're struggling with like learning how to be authentic, look inside yourself, look at your life, and start writing it down on paper. Like, you know, where you know what you're missing, you know, what you would like to, you know, eventually achieve. And I think that, you know, staying true to yourself is one of the biggest values you can have as an artist, so, or any type of creative person, or someone that's just going up, you know, working a job every day. Like, if you're putting on a fake act every day, you know, it's not really you. But if you can find a way to be yourself within those confines, you know, you might, you know, end up in a place where you really like it. So at this time, you know, all throughout this time, I did start working at, you know, my job, which I was there for 8.5 years, which will come into play later in, you know, the timeline of these videos. But I think I had been there for about a year at this point. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. We gonna get out of here, and I'll holler at y'all next time. Make sure you hit me with a like and a subscribe on these videos. Peace.